Pedro seems like a very French name to me.
It's actually a Brazilian, so I'm Brazilian and French. So that's also a little bit more about my background. So my grandparents immigrated to Brazil, so a couple of many years ago, and my family has been there for a couple of generations now.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here today, and yeah, maybe you can dive right into the background after you give a little short intro, who you are and why you're here.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. So actually, my background is I'd say a little bit different from most stories. I would say that everything began to be more interesting after I finished high school, which in my case was when I was 14 years old. So I finished high school at 14 and started studying law. So I went to law school right after that. So between my 14 and 17 years old, I was studying law in Brazil. So it was a very different experience, I would say, because I was still a kid, you can say in many ways, but it was something that I would say that began my background. After that, I saw that I really liked law. So I actually did a bar exam in Brazil was one of the things that was very interested in doing. So when I was 17 years old, I was able to pass that, learned a lot, but I always knew that I like entrepreneurship. So I always knew that I wanted to create a new product, that I wanted to create something in the style of a business. So that's when I decided to change lanes in a way, in a little bit, and went to study in the United States. So I went to study business there. Was able to get a full tuition scholarship, which for me was very important. It allowed me to study in the United States. The universities there are very expensive. So did that. Also studied in France at SCP. And then began my professional career. So began in investment banking at JP Morgan. Then moved a little bit, changed lanes to something different. Went to work in consulting. Also went to work for an accelerator, so deep tech accelerator here in Paris, in France, called SparkMate, which was the first time that I had a more deeper contact with deep tech engineers. So something that I began to be very passionate about the whole startup scene. And then I created my first startup in Brazil, which is called Payby. So for that first startup, we did QR code payments. So
Wait.
for
We
the
need to slow down. I think there's too many things I really think are interesting, and
yeah.
we are jumping towards the end already. No, I'm really interested in the early beginnings. As you said, it seems a little bit
Yeah.
different, and so maybe we can spend a little bit time why your family went to Brazil. We can spend a few seconds. Who are your parents? Because very often I have um, guests that have engineers as parents, right?
Mm.
But some of, and I had a few. I think I had two Brazilian people already on my podcast, and
Oh, that's
one of
nice.
them, um, his parents were farmers, right? So I'm really curious about that period of time and the surroundings, the environment, yeah, that you grew up with before you went to the States.
Yeah, so both my parents, they're actually prosecutors in Brazil. So actually my entire family, they're very into law. So my uncles, my parents, and there was always something that was always, when I was growing up, something they always encouraged me to do. So I studied law, maybe become a judge in Brazil was always in a way, I would say, something that it really pushed me and my sister. So my sister is starting to become a judge actually. So she actually went on that path. I think they were as well one of the inspirations and motivations as well for me to go into law school as early as I did.
Um, I'm not sure that you have mentioned where in Brazil, because Brazil is still one of the biggest countries in the world. People underestimate the size of Brazil. So, which city are we talking about?
I grew up in Salvador, so it's after Rio and São Paulo is the third largest city in Brazil. It's in the northeast. It's a coastal city. It's actually quite nice. A lot of tourism there. It has one of the biggest carnivals as well in Brazil, right up there with Rio.
And so, this is a podcast about people that are doing deep tech. when you were rushing through the CV, you were mentioning tech later on, but I'm always trying to decipher and to unfold. Is there is there anything that, yeah, how do you say this, inspired this curiosity when it comes to technology early on, or do you belong to those people that where technology crossed your path very late in life?
I would say that I always saw technology in innovation in general as a way to create something of value. I would say that was always my spark is to create something, a product, a service, a solution that would actually help change, improve people's lives. And I would say that technology and innovation in general came as a means to an end. I'd say that that's the way that it worked for both for my first startup and what we're doing now at the place as well, is using innovation technology as a tool to and then help people.
So so you think so more from a point of view that you are interested but not heavily involved in, and especially not hands-on. So this was more using technology or enjoying technology or being interested in technology versus building and creating something with technology, because this is only something that was brought to the people in the very last few years, right?
Yeah,
Um, Graphic designers, video designers, and now with all those AI agents, you're really able to do things you weren't unable to do before, right? But let's not jump too much. So you said being surrounded by people in law, that was something that was very familiar for you. So very naturally, you joined those paths as well, and then
yeah,
you studied law in Brazil. You said.
exactly. Started law in Brazil when I was 14 years old, right after finishing high school.
So is that something that is usual at that age?
Actually, not at all, not at all. I'd say it's pretty in Brazil. It's pretty similar to the United States or Europe, that people go to university when they are 18 years old after they finish their entire high school. But in Brazil, we have an exam so that people usually take when they're 18 to measure how much you have learned during high school. And I decided to take that exam at my very first year of high school, mostly just to test my skills, see how much I had already learned. But I was able with the grade that I got with that exam. It was high enough so that I could get into the best law school of my state of Bahia. And I had to ponder in a way, was I still young to do that? Which path to go? But at the end, I decided to take the leap of faith and began doing law school.
And is that a degree that you finished, that you were able to finish in Brazil?
I did 2 years. In Brazil, it's 5 years of law school, so I did 2 years, and then I decided to go to the United States and do business there. So I did a little bit less than half of the whole degree.
Where in the United States did you, because you said that you got a scholarship and then you went to the US. Uh, so which area or city were we talking about now?
I went to USC, so University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Uh, yeah, so in California, which was, I would say, a very good place to be as a university guy. Was able to meet a lot of people, a lot of different things happening as well in LA, both in the tech scene and the business scene. So I would say I was able to learn and mingle with a lot of interesting people.
Um, is I think people can see very easily on my skin. I'm a bit older than you are, so just to get an idea what time perspective or what timeline we are talking about, what year is that you are leaving Brazil and going to the US?
Yeah, so I left Brazil in August 2017, and yeah, I stayed in the United States from 2017 to 2021. So yeah, those were the years that I was there. And then 2021 as well, second part. Then I began my professional career. And in France, I was in 2019 at SAP. So it's one of the business universities here in Paris.
And I hope you don't mind me asking. You said that you were able to study in the US because of the scholarship, but then going to Europe. I mean, Europe is, when it comes especially to university, to the majority of public universities, much cheaper than anything
Yeah.
that you're yeah, that you see in the US. But how is that with business schools in France?
I was able to also the same scholarship that I got from my university in the United States. I was able to bring that over to the university that I went here in Paris because there was a partnership between both
Mm,
institutions.
nice.
I was able to also use the same one, so I didn't have to even though if the price is much lower in Europe, as you said, you're right about that. I could just use my scholarship over. So for me, it worked well.
And and here maybe we go full circle because you said that you have French roots going to Brazil. You said the majority of your family or like parts of your family are there. Then you go to the US and then back to France. So you are being raised as a French speaking person?
I was actually raised speaking mostly Portuguese, so that's the language that we spoke at home.
Hmm.
With my mother and with my grandfather, I used to talk in French sometimes, but my father is 100% Brazilian, doesn't even speak much French, Portuguese was always the lingua franca in a way, the language spoken at home.
And how is that coming then from the US? Because I think English is easy to adopt, especially with all those yeah media that you consume, right?
Yeah.
And then being taught in English in the majority of schools. But how is it with French, right? So there is difficulty that comes with the French language. How is that for you?
I would say that the fact that I grew up speaking Portuguese and the fact that with my mother, she would talk to me in French many times growing up, it helped a lot. The fact that I had that base, and even though I grew up in Brazil, we would visit France a lot in travels. We'd spend a couple of months in Paris. So I would say that this type of experience as well also helped me get more familiar with the language. And with English is exactly what you said. I would say that we grew up watching movies, watching series in English. In my case, also reading a couple of books in English. So I think it was much more natural in that the whole process.
Before we enter Europe, let's spend a few moments in the US. Um, is that a time where you not only went from law to business and feeling more than the will or the urge to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah,
Um, how is it with tech? Because being an entrepreneur, sometimes there is just the need of, as you said very early on in the conversation, creating a service, creating a product, creating value. Um, but but then there's always a commercial part in the technology side, right? For example, I work together with startups, and you will not find me programming anything, and you will not find me, um, even though I studied mechanical engineering, um, you will not find me in the majority of times assembling anything, right? There's always a commercial part because you always need to find customers, you always need to talk to customers. So product development is very heavy with customer interactions, interaction. How is that? How is that for you, or how was that for you when you started to think like an entrepreneur and feeling the urge to become an entrepreneur? How is that with the tech part? Was that there already, or?
yeah, it was already there. I was always interested, I would say, especially in the innovation research part of what's going on. So I would always read a lot of papers about what's the latest tech. Right now, for example, with everything that is happening with AI, I was always very interested in it. But I would say that I agree with you in a lot of ways. I was always, I would say, the business guy in the ventures that I created, I participated. One of the things that I would say that makes me that I'm very passionate about is the using what I know, what I learned with my experience with in finance, in marketing, sales, to bring new ideas, new innovations, actually to fruition. Because I would say that this is something that it's very important, especially for early stage startups, is being able to describe what type of product you're selling, you're building, talking to customers, also getting to know what they think about your concept. So I'd say that all of this is something that I have always been interested on.
And in the area where you studied, I mean, there is, you said Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, in LA, California, exactly.
So, I mean, the, I would say the tech hub is a little bit further north. Uh, but yeah, is there a tech scene?
There is actually a tech scene in LA. Actually, they call it Silicon Beach. So instead of Silicon Valley, of course, because we're more down south. And yeah, it was something that I was, especially during the time that I was there, was being developed in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of gaming companies as well
Oh yeah.
that are based in LA. In USC, alongside USLA, are two of the biggest institutions with a lot of research. Actually, a lot of people who worked in the very beginnings of AI came from USC. So I would say that paired with everything that was happening in the business side in LA was a very good, a very interesting scene to be in. And of course, there's the entire entertainment industry down there. So a lot of stuff happening as well in terms of filming, etc., in terms of entertainment in general, in terms of technology that are being used in those sectors. So I would say that it was an interesting intercity to study.
Just the other day, someone answered a DM from me that I sent, I don't know, a few months ago.
Yeah,
Um, and that is someone who is working in the robotics lab for Disney in Zurich.
of course.
So, um, people who are much more familiar with the tech scene might find this very obvious. And if you think about it, but for my part, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, obviously they have the theme parks, and obviously they have the movies, but embodied AI really being heavily invested and having research labs was something I was, yeah, positively surprised. So yeah, there is obviously a tech scene. You were mentioning the gaming industry. I had one guest very early on who was in gaming and
Yeah,
developing games in the mid 90s, early 2000s, and yeah, I think the majority of people know this already, but the gaming scene is like a few times bigger than the movie scene, right? When it comes to revenue, and this is for people who I think who are outside of the scene. Um, well, I remember when the first time I read it, it was yeah, interesting as well. Like we see the movie stars, but then like those games, the amount of money people spend on those games is insane. But
yeah. I think only GTA by itself is $2 billion already
yeah,
yearly revenue. So
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy how big it is. And yeah, I also agree with you in terms of what Disney is doing. They have their Imagineers, which have been doing a lot of work actually on robotics, starting from the I think 60s, 70s. So they have a lot of stuff. They pioneered a lot of stuff in robotics research as well. And yeah, of course, they're based in LA. They do a lot of their robotics research now in Switzerland, as you said. But of course, a lot of stuff is still in California.
recently there was or there is a new movement, let's call it like this, the European acceleration. So people
Yeah,
really understanding that there is, even though the majority of tech comes from the US and the biggest companies are in the US and only being rivaled by the Chinese companies, it seems like there's now a focus, at least from Europe, within Europe, that there is some tech in Europe happening as well, right? If you look at the numbers, it's almost non-existing still. The majority of revenue comes from companies that are still very old and old-fashioned. But just 2 weeks ago, there was a very nice hackathon in Paris, and
yeah, I
Hugging
was there.
Face. I
Yeah,
know, I know. I was just about to come to this part. So now that you've been in Paris, maybe we now close the US chapter for a second and dive into your European experience, and you can tell us a little bit how is it in being in Paris?
yeah, sure. So I would say that especially in terms of timing, Europe is in a very good place right now with everything that is happening and developing when it comes to AI, physical AI. And I'll say that's one of the things that I have seen being here. So the hackathon that you just said that was made by Mistral, Hugging Face. So it's a good example. The fact that we have a Hugging Face here in Paris, and the fact that they're working a lot in robotics, I think something that works in a way as a magnet, bringing a lot of talent, bringing a lot of people here. Also, more and more startups are being created, especially when you think of Paris. So, Wondercraft, for example, is another good example. Enchanted Tools. I think that especially in the last few years, Paris is becoming in a way the center of robotics technology in general. Also, London does a lot of stuff, but I'll say that in physical AI, especially, Paris is gaining a lot of traction, and that's, I'd say, something that you see when you're here. A lot of people are coming from Switzerland, from Spain, from other countries within Europe to study here. There's a very good university with Sorbonne, EASY, the department that they have for robotics. So to say that it's working more and more as a magnet, and you see that when it comes to events, when it comes to companies. So to say that for us is something that is very, very interesting because it allows us to have these types of conversations with very good, very smart people, both French, so who are here in Paris is in a way very France is a very centralized country, so almost everyone from France comes to Paris, especially when they're opening business, but also people from all over Europe. And I agree with you. I think the US is still in a way the center of many of the new technologies that are being created, but also more and more Europe is gaining traction, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. And I would say that with physical AI, we have a very good opportunity there to actually be at the very center of the action.
I mean, I can. There's a special relationship between the French and the Germans. I have
Yeah,
a lot of French friends, and yeah, I think we're brothers in by heart, and but also when it comes to the technology part, as you said, I think this is well known. The major hubs when it comes to startups is as you said, London, Paris, Berlin, um, used to be, and but yeah, the amount of talent and the concentration is I mean, if you say robotics, obviously Le Robot, and yeah, now with the how do you say this?
all in robotics that
Yeah,
Hugging Face
with the
just
acquirement
purchased.
of Pollen Robotics, but I think these guys are Bordeaux based.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
based in Bordeaux, yes.
Um, I would have not necessarily thought of Paris as a AI center, yes, but robotics, I do have Zurich much more in mind. But I mean, I'm keen to see what comes out of this hot melting pot in Paris. But maybe we can use that situation or that moment in our conversation to finally come to what you guys are doing and what you do in particular.
Sure. So what we do at the place is data collection for robotics. So one of the things that we saw early on is that, but different, for example, from traditional AI, uh, which can use all the textual information from Wikipedia for the entire corpus of the internet. The same thing does not exist for physical AI. So it's much, much harder to have access to data, to motion data, to train your models. So that's pretty much the problem that we are tackling. So we collect a very large scale, multimodal, diverse data so that physical AI companies can train their model so that it can be actually, so that robots can be actually useful, smarter, because they're trained on data that can generalize, that can bring a lot of value to other beauty. So yeah, that's what we do data collection for physical AI.
Um, okay, so let's start slowly. Um, First, who's we?
We are three people right now, so me and my co-founders. Yeah, three of us, and also our advisor, who was the CTO of Burger King. So someone who helps us a lot with the business side of things, and also has a lot of his experience in automating industry, of course, in his case, the fast food sector.
And I mean, data collection and data gathering is a big topic, right?
Yeah.
Um, are you able to give us some insights in what kind of sources are you guys using for collecting data?
Yeah, so we're focusing mostly on types of data that we can collect in low scale, low cost, and at large scale. So we do a lot of stuff, for example, with human demonstrations. So videos of humans, people doing tasks that we're gonna enhance in a lot of different ways with bounding boxes, language annotations, hand tracking, so that it can have even more value for physical AI models. Also working with motion capture as well, working with imitation grippers. So they work in a way similar to normal robotic grippers, but that we can produce at a much lower cost. So, for example, things like the Universal Manipulation Interface, UMIs. So, those are the types of collection we're focusing most of, but we also want to do more and more low cost robot teleoperation. So, for example, in a way, what Hugging Face is incentivizing a lot of people to do with their SO 100 arms. That's the type of thing that we want to do more and more as well.
Um, I might not have the technical background to understand this fully, but you said low cost, high volume,
Yeah, exactly. Low cost and large scale data sets.
which in my in my uh, chain of thoughts would be contrary to um, this the kind of data that you just mentioned, because tele-op is not something that is I mean low cost depends where you're doing it, but it's not easily being scaled. And so there is no large volume we're talking here, right? So maybe I don't know how much you can give away, but walk me through.
Yeah, so the low cost part we focus a lot on. So the other types of data, so human demonstrations, motion capture, imitation grippers, this we can do at very low cost. And regarding teleoperation, I'd say there are multiple ways of doing teleoperation. You can do teleoperation with the actual robot embodiment, so a robot that is going to cost you 10,000, 15,000 dollars, euros, which in that way, yes, is harder to scale. But you can also do teleoperation with arms that cost $100, $120, such as the example of the SO100 from Hugging Face. So this can allow you to do a robot teleoperation in a much more low cost way, and then it helps you scale more and more. I'd say that when we talk about teleoperation, this is more of what we have in mind. But we see this whole the whole process of data collection for robotics as a mix. And I would say that a lot of the clients, the people that we're talking to, they're still testing a lot of stuff. A lot of them are testing, pre-training their models with human demonstrations. Others want something more developed, like teleoperation. Others want something like motion capture. So our entire goal is to be able to be flexible when it comes to what types of data we're gonna be collecting.
Um, so how long are you guys working on this project now?
We're sure a pretty young startup. We haven't begun the company about 2 months ago.
So yeah, because I really like to have, sometimes I talk to founders or potential guests and they tell me, I'm not there yet. And I mean, for sure, I do like to have experienced founders who've been through a lot and who maybe this is the second, third, fourth company.
Yeah,
They were able to grow companies to a bigger size, a lot of revenue, a lot of people, a lot of customers. But I also like to display how it is if you're very early on. If you are just like you said, if you're just like three people, 2 months in, and because people are curious and people. So you are here now, three people, 2 months in, but there's other people who are just one person and 0 months in, right? And
yeah,
or just being in university and but also someone who is in the business for 10, 15, 20 years who would like to understand how what are these people dealing with, right? So when I was 20, 25, I'm now speaking theoretically. When I was 2025, maybe some of the founders would think we had different tools, we didn't have access to this and that, and or some things were easier because it was not as easy to find out what I was really doing. No one was really paying attention because a lot of startups these days are in stealth mode because everything is online, right? But back then, there is no need for stealth mode because nobody knows that you exist in the first place.
yeah.
So I really like to show people who are on the different um, and different stages and timelines. So you said that you've been part of the hackathon. How was that for you? Because I heard a lot of good things. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it myself, but maybe you can, yeah, you can give some insights.
Yeah, it was actually an amazing event. It was very good to see the top minds working on a physical AI all over Europe, and even some from the United States, all together one place. We also had one of our clients as well was in the jury, so it was also good to see them in person. Here in Paris. I would say that was very good to see the ecosystem coming together. So people that me and my co-founders, research that we knew from research that we had calls before, actually being able to see them in person, see what they were working on, and also seeing everyone working on their different the different projects, their different iterations for the hackathon. I think that the whole atmosphere was very good. And one of the sentences that a lot of people, a lot of the organizers even said was that the ChatGPT moment for physical AI is just around the corner. It's coming very fast. And I would say that being there, this was the idea, the atmosphere that you felt from everyone, from people participating, from people who already have big companies in the sector, from the organizers. So I'd say that it was very good. It was very good for I'd say entrepreneurs like us beginning a startup in this sector to see this type of excitement.
I mean, especially media, but also people when they're talking about some certain things, people like to use fancy taglines. And I think I've been to a few summits and a few podium talks, and like people really like to use the ChatGPT moment phrase,
Yeah,
because I think it's very easy to really grab and
grasp
to
the idea.
really understand how AI became mainstream overnight, more or less, right? I think they said something 1 million users within a week or in a first month, and I think now they're adding 1 million users per day, and how useful it is for a lot of people instantly without having the background and without having the technology expertise. I do think with robotics, I mean, Phospho, who are also using the SO100,
Yeah.
designed by my friend Rob Knight. Um, Not Robert, I think it's just Rob Knight, for Hugging Face. Um, what they're aiming at is bringing robotics to machine learning engineers. So you do need to have some sort of technical expertise. And I mean, Le Robot did a lot for the open source community, and they're still doing it now with the acquisition is the right word of Pollen. But I think they announced how much is a new one. Uh,
I think a new one is around 70,000,
yeah,
something like that.
70K. Yeah.
It's quite expensive. Yeah.
It's still quite expensive, and I talked to a few other people that are also working on open source robotics. I think even if you can bring it down to 10 or 5K, and I think some companies are really aiming for that. And I'm not talking about this Elon Musk, end of next year you can buy one for 10. I'm talking about really bringing it to people. I think it's still niche, because
I
having a robot in your home, being able to program, being able to assemble, maybe plug and play, there's still more curiosity, I think, for a lot of people that are tech savvy. It can be, but I mean, ChatGPT is something my sister uses, and she's a tailor, right? So I think this ChatGPT moment for robotics in that kind of term will not happen. I think it will happen if it's, I don't know, a few hundreds. I had Matic. They do vacuum cleaners, but like advanced vacuum
Yeah.
cleaners. So this is something that brings technology to your home, because everyone has a vacuum cleaner at home. So, what is your stand on that one?
Uh, I would say that at least when I think of the ChatGPT moment for robotics, I think it less of people actually having robots at their homes and more of robots actually being able to generalize and be useful and smart in a way that is going to impress people like ChatGPT impressed them. So I would say that this is much more close than most people think. I would say that, for example, there we just 2 or 3 days ago we had a zero point 0.5 model in which they test exactly that. So being able to have a robot that generalized to a lot of new environments, new homes that the model has never seen before. I would say that when we have a model that is even more developed than that, that you can actually put a robot no matter where and it can do many, many different tasks, long horizon tasks, so complex motions. I would say this would be that's what I mean when I say the ChatGPT moment for robotics. And then of course it is a game of logistics of actually scaling the hardware, scaling everything else, making it cheaper. But I would say that this is what I see as the ChatGPT moment for robotics. A robot that is actually trained on enough data, so big enough, diverse enough that it can actually be useful and smart in a lot of different environments, a lot of different spaces with a lot of different tasks. Because I'd say this is the premise of robotics in a way, being able to actually not have labor, not have motion tasks be a bottleneck. I would say that when a robot is able to do this, then it becomes a matter of time that it actually scales to a lot of different factories, different homes, and then yes, I'd say this is more of what I mean when I think of the ChatGPT moment for physical AI for robotics.
It was almost a podcast with more than two people. Yeah, you were able to postpone because I was visiting family and friends in Berlin,
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of people that would like to enter tech. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about the background stories or the background story around you guys getting together, because I do assume that even though you are, let's say, from the business side of it, there will be, you have two co-founders, there will be more technical
exactly.
expertise at the table. Maybe you can say how how this comes together, because I do know that a lot of people tell me they would like to do something but they don't have the knowledge, and they're unsure if they can do something if they don't have a engineering degree. But I mean, there's a need for both sides, right? So how did you
Yeah.
guys met and came together?
So I knew one of the co-founders for a couple of time, some time, and we always talked a little bit about robotics in general. He knew that I had another startup before, so he was always very interested in entrepreneurship. So I'd say that that's what was one of the topics that we talk a lot. And in his PhD, so his robotics PhD, he saw this problem firsthand. So the lack of data to train physical AI models, and it's something that we began little by little to talk more, to explore the business side of it. What were the main challenges of why there wasn't still a startup doing this type of thing? How was the demand? What's the price of a data set? How would it work? And I'll say this is how everything began. There was a spark, him knowing about the problem, about the technical problem, and me looking at it from a business perspective. So that's when we decided to actually come together and create the place. And he knew someone else who had studied in Switzerland with him for his master's, so also a master's in robotics, who knows a lot about AI. So we also brought him together, and then the three of us, each one has a, I would say, a specific hat, even though everyone does a little bit of everything inside the company. So of course, me, I do more of the business side, everything that is sales, marketing, finance. So one of the co-founders, he does a lot of, he's the robotics expert, knows everything about the latest research, the techniques. And the other one is more of the AI expert, takes care of everything that is data validation, data annotation, and then everyone can help in a lot of different ways so that at the end we can have a good solution.
You were also already, thank you for those insights. Um, you were all already mentioning, I think twice, that you do already have a customer, right? Especially if in that kind of stage where you guys are in 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm always very surprised when it's like really paying customers versus we do pilot projects versus we do POCs. Is that something that we can discuss? Is that something that you feel comfortable with sharing?
Yeah, I cannot go super into detail, but yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. And actually, our first client is a client actually from Switzerland. They have their own robotic hand, their own hardware, and they're also working on the physical AI itself. There were people that we contact, and were the first data collection project that we did. In that case, we did egocentric human demonstrations. Mostly to pre-train models.
Nice, interesting. It's it's something that I do see over and over again, and even with people, I met a founder team. I think from those three people, two had a PhD in robotics, and the other one had a master in, I think, mechanical engineering. So
Yeah,
really tech heavy. But then you're surprised to when you ask questions in the business I'm in, right? So to how many people are you have you talked to really understood if there's a need in the market? And then you hear like two or three, sometimes 10, but sometimes you hear 50, right? Or more numbers. So it really, it's astonishing how people focusing on the right things in their niche, in their, yeah, business. But then, as you said, you guys, you are being complementary to each other, right? Everything brings
yeah.
something to the table that is necessary to make the whole worth more than its single parts. And I think this is something that people can learn from. Hopefully, listening to this podcast, building deep tech. One of the things is having the right pieces of puzzle to make the whole picture. And I'm glad that you guys already are in the situation where you can talk to customers or potential customers. Or and how was that for you and for your colleagues? Was that something that was natural, or was that something that was, yeah?
For me, that's my favorite part. I would say that actually going out there and talking to people, because then you're able to actually see what are the latest needs of people, especially I would say in a sector like physical AI, which is moving super fast. So in 1 2 months, you have completely new paradigms, new equipment that is released, new models. I'd say that it's very important to be very up to date of what is happening, what are people's needs, which evolves very fast. To me, that's my favorite. That's my favorite part. We were able to talk with a couple of different players in the sector, both in Europe and the United States, which are the two markets that we're focusing on, and we are very excited as well about the reception that we have had in terms of everyone agrees that data scarcity is one of the biggest problems with physical AI right now. And right now, what everyone is trying to figure out, so tackle in a different way, is how to solve it. So I'd say that having these types of conversations is something that we really like, and me myself is the part that I would say that makes me most excited, because we also hear the different insights, the different frameworks that people are using. And I would say that it inspires you to keep innovating, keep and trying new techniques, new ways of seeing the same problem.
I mean, I'm really like jealous in terms of like being because there's a difference between uh how old are you?
Just turned 26, actually a few weeks ago.
Um, I hope you don't mind me asking, but yeah, I really think this is it's a great time to be in that business. I mean, we're not talking about the effects and the consequences that all this AI robotics topic will have for our society,
Yeah.
because this is something that is being neglected like big time. But um, let's stay on the positive and interesting and exciting side of it. It is something, as you said, a very vibrant. It must be a very vibrant place to be in, and I think it has something very infectious if you're being in a place where everyone is trying to build something and drive something and aspiring each other and So yeah, I'm very happy for you that you guys have the opportunity to be there. And will Paris then will be the main headquarters, so to
Headquarters.
speak, or is that something that a lot of European startups, and I see the posts all over social media, doesn't matter which platform it is, that unfortunately they would love to, but business forces them going to the US. Um, I mean, you don't need to be very specific, but do you think that you feel comfortable enough to, at least now, I don't know if there's a need for raising money for you guys. Uh, is that something where you can see yourself spending some more time, or do you think the US, unfortunately, is the end of the road?
So we see ourselves actually as a continental company in a way, so with business both in Europe and the United States. So it is one of our main goals as well to have a very strong presence in Europe. I would say that there's a lot of opportunity here. Uh, with all those new companies, those new startups being created, so humanoid companies, also those companies that I mentioned a little bit before. I would say that our goal, especially in this first phase, is to have our headquarters here, so that we can tackle the entirety of Europe. But of course, at the same time, doing a lot of business in the United States, where you have still the majority of companies working on physical AI and robotics. I think you can do both. I think that it is possible to have a base in Europe, but at the same time, be very successful in the United States. Of course, that means that you also have to travel a lot, that you have to have a lot of connections to America, but I think that both can be complementary.
Um, Maybe one of the last questions going in that direction. I was just mentioning the word raising money or getting funding, but you were
Yeah,
also mentioning something with customers, right? And here I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was in Hannover Messe. I spoke
sure.
to two founders, and they both have robotic companies. One is more on the physical side, one of them more on the software side. But both were pretty confident in bootstrapping their business. They said, we don't have any problems with getting with product market fit, at least as far as I can see it at the moment, and with paying customers. Is that something that you would aim at? I mean, we do see before I give you the opportunity to answer, maybe a little bit more context. Right now, you see very flashy, something like lovable, uh, like being cash positive, like from the very early beginning, and having so many users, and like there's no need for raising any money because there's money pouring in. I mean, this is a lovable situation to be in. But
Yeah.
how is that for you? Is that something that you can disclose or that you can talk about a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So we have actually been accepted into some accelerators in Europe, for example. We haven't made any decisions regarding that yet. Our goal right now, our main goal, our main focus is actually to get more clients and to build more cases. We think that that's the best way as well to show our concept to as many people as possible. I would say that this is the operational side is something that we are focusing a lot on right now. So doing the sales. Improving our data validation, our data annotation pipelines. I would say that the operational side is something that we're focusing a lot on. And then after in the future, of course, in the near future, maybe more in the medium future, we can think a little bit more about the funding raising period. It's something that yeah we're open to, but right now we're focusing a lot on actually building those great cases.
I mean, people say hardware is hard and hardware is expensive. So this is one part of the robotic things, right?
Yeah,
Then there's a lot of people who would like to do something with robotics, but staying on the software side. So like using the hype or being on the hype train, but being in the comfortable software side where software as a service, subscription models, so everything that VCs love, right? But I think there is a lot of value in being able, because raising money is not something that is the same as getting paying customers. And
yeah,
because you can burn a lot of money and promise a lot of things and have assumptions about how things will work out in the future. I mean, one of the most prominent examples, I think, is Amazon in being not profitable for like 20 years, but all the right KPIs were showing in the right direction, and like with the big picture in mind, we're able to get money and money and money over such a long period of time, but um, not spending someone else's money, but your own money, and not going through the hard times with a nice pillow of cash versus really grinding because it means survival mode, but it also means um, depending on product market fit early on, depending on um, user validation and technical feasibility very early on is something I do think there's a lot of value in that and teaches you lessons maybe faster, maybe more brutal. And so yeah, I'm interested how you guys will come out of that phase.
Yeah, it's something that of course I'm very excited as well to see the next steps where we how we evolve in the next few months. I would say that as well. One thing that I like about our models that so we do a DaaS, data as a service. There is a lot of software components to what we do. But there's also a hardware component in a way, in the sense that the type of data that we're collecting, some of them we use equipment that we can have actually to go and distribute to people. There's the logistics behind it. So I'd say that it allows us to explore opportunities in both of those sectors. And it allows us to test a lot of stuff as well in both of them, both in the software and both on the hardware part. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that both approaches have upsides and drawbacks. So of course, if you raise money early on, you can accelerate quicker than others. Of course, so that is an advantage. On the other side, of course, you lose some of as you said of the fact that if you bootstrap, you are talking more to clients. You are gaining more of this hands-on experience of actually talking to the people that are going to be using your service. Of course, you can do both. I think that the way to see when's the best time to choose one way or to choose another, and that's exactly the situation that they were into right now. So talking to clients, building cases, and then being open to both of those options. I think both have a value.
Is there anything, as we're coming now towards the end of the podcast, is there anything I need to look out for? Is there a launch happening? Is there a big announcement happening? Is there any, these are my clients happening, or this is a product that we've been working on happening? Is there something I should have a look at it, or is that something you would like to keep for yourself for a little bit longer?
I would say there are surely a couple of exciting announcements, a couple of exciting news coming very soon. I don't think that I can talk about them directly yet, but they're going to be live on LinkedIn on our website pretty soon. I've been talking to some very exciting players, and I hope that soon we are going to be able to release that information. I would say that one last thing as well that I'd like to add is, of course, first of all, thank you for this space. I think is very good. Something that I really like to have this opportunity to talk a little bit more about, of course, my experiences, what we're doing at the place. And I would say that one thing that I think is very interesting to talk to is the fact that physical AI is growing more and more, has a lot of potential. So the more people that become interested in this, that want to work on it, that know people who are working on it, and that we can connect. I would say that making this community even stronger and bigger. I would say that if this is something that our talk is able to do, I would say we made a good job.
I keep my eyes open. I'm very thankful that you took the time, and yeah, I'm keen to to share some announcement, whatever that happened. I mean, I
Sure.
don't know if you guys come across something that you would like to give to me early on. But yeah, I mean, good luck to you guys. And there's a few people I need to visit in Paris anyway, so I might drop by.
Yeah, of course. Let me know. We can grab a coffee in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, okay. Have a good one, Pedro, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see you guys.
Thank you, Lear. Thank you. Have a great night.
Take care.